Okay, this is gonna be a fun one. What other people are saying about moving to Utah and living in Utah. The pros and cons of the culture, the cost of living, the demographics of transportation, where you should live in Utah, all coming up in this video. Hi, my name is Jenny. I am with Real Broker. If you are interested in moving to Utah and not know what parts of Utah to live in, whether you live in Utah currently or you're trying to move into Utah, please hit that subscribe button and that bell for notifications because I make a video every week. Let's jump into the video. Okay, guys, I was born and raised in Utah. So this culture shock and knowing the difference of what the feel and the vibe is in the city and not the city in the rural area is all kind of new to me in the sense of trying to teach you and educate you. If you are trying to move from Baltimore, if you're trying to move from California, if you're moving from Texas, because I don't know those cultures and I can tell you all that I know about Utah, but I want to hear what other people are saying. So I'm going to bring your attention over to my screen over here. And AI, we'll start with what AI says. It says Utah is great for studying natural beauty, strong sense of community, family, friends, atmosphere, excellent outdoor recreation, which is very true. This is the majority of the reason why people move to Utah, and relatively low cost of living compared to other states. Very, very true. Most people choose Utah because of the cost of living and the low crime rates. The culture, though, is a give and take. So they're saying it's very family friendly, considered a place to raise a family, and a strong emphasis on community values. The cost of living, which you talked about, the outdoor activities, friendly people. They're often described as very welcoming and friendly. That is true overall, but there is some issues, and we're going to get into the comments on that one. And the job market, we have a very strong and stable job market. Diversity is very limited in Utah. There's a lot of more Caucasian than there are different other things. People are saying people are racist. Who knows? Everybody has the right to their own opinion of where you want to move to Utah. I have to be careful with what I can say because as a real estate agent, I cannot steer you to a certain direction or tell you where to move based on certain laws of demographics of making sure that I'm not biased in what I'm doing in my professionalism. But here's some fun comments on here. Okay, it says, I'll keep this brief. I'm moving to Utah. While the obvious place to move would both be Salt Lake City, I'm trying to live more suburban with the more quieter areas away from the busy city. Why you should do that? Low crime, so moving from Baltimore. Lord help me, I cannot move to another place with this much crime. Okay, so Baltimore has a high crime. They want to move to a lower crime. Not hood or ghetto any means. A black male in case that offends anybody. Ability to rent up to 2,000 months of flexibility. Okay, this was a year ago. Anybody have any suggestions? Anywhere in Utah is going to seem like Mayberry compared to compared to Baltimore. I definitely would support that one. North of Salt Lake, Davis County, Weber counters are a lot easier than the South County of Utah. Yes, due to Hill Air Force Base ends up being slightly more diverse anywhere else outside of the Salt Lake City. So Salt Lake City definitely has a lot more diversity is what he's saying here. West of Salt Lake, Tule County has some nice spots, but not quite built out. It is an up and coming city. That is very true. It's probably a little cheaper out west than anywhere else. Very true. Tooele is a lot more cheaper than anywhere of like West Salt Lake area. Park City is expensive. I definitely agree with that. Park City attracts a lot of celebrities, a lot of outsiders, just because it's so beautiful. It captures Utah in its essence for the greenery and the mountain ranges, and in the winter for the snow. Park City is a famous city because of the Winter Olympics, and it's been announced again in 2034 we'll be hosting it again for a second time here in Utah. Also recommend the southern fringes of South Salt Lake, County. Anything south of 215, but Salt Lake, lots of really nice semi-affordable housing. So it's always been known that on the east side of the I-15, which is where the Wasatch Range is at, is where it's the most expensive. If you want to choose the other side of the freeway, there's still some really great options with West Valley, West Jordan, and South Jordan. When they showcase a community over there, it's called Daybreak. That's on my list of things to do. If you are interested in that, leave me a comment below. But that one also has a little bit lower housing pricing over there, and cost of living a little bit less because you are further away from the mountains and skiing and hiking and camping where people want to be 20-30 minutes away so they can escape to the mountains. And on the other side of the freeway, you're about an hour away, depending on where you live. I made a move from New York City after trying different neighborhoods since March. No on Airbnbs. I'm settling for Sandy. Safe, clean, no homeless, 20 minutes from Salt Lake City. Sandy, I would say, is the best, closest ranged city. I was born in Sandy, so definitely gained a lot of traction in the 90s for being a really good city for families, and the growth has maximized out of Sandy. I need to highlight Sandy. And so Sandy can be a very fun fun area for location and the energy and the sense of feeling like you're close to things. They do have a bus transit system in Sandy, so it's a great area to be picking. Agreed, Sandy's very family friendly, still not a long drive, shops, communities that Salt Lake has to offer. I think you're going to love Utah coming from Baltimore. Even the worst areas of Utah still seem absolutely safe compared to Baltimore, so I wouldn't worry too much. Sandy 100% has everything you need. I would say Sandy, Murray, and Draper. Midville has some good ones as well. I have a rental property in Midville. It's just you're going to get an old demographic of a home because it is maxed out. There's not a lot of new build like there is in Harriman and Bluffdale. Even out in South Jordan, they have a lot more new builds, so they're going to be older homes, which I like older homes. So it just depends on what your preferences. Moved to Sandy 5 years ago, my wife and I love it. Utah's worst neighborhood for crime, probably West Valley. That is true for Salt Lake County in itself. There are more worst crimes in the smaller towns. And the reason I've learned that that's true is because the smaller towns just don't have a lot going on for them. And so people are bored and they create crime. And I've created a video on the crime in Utah as well. The second one that I've noticed is because we have the national park, people seem to think that committing a homicide in a national park is a great thing to do. So it's outsiders coming in and committing those crimes. But West Valley does have a lower predominant as far as income is concerned and unemployment rate. I like the Draper area, checks most of the boxes, which Draper is about 10 minutes away from Sandy, going more towards south. Half of Draper is in Utah County, considering the point, what we call the point of the mountain. Let me pull up a map here so you can see what I'm talking about. So let me show you. So if I were to look up Draper, Utah. Okay, so here is the point of the mountain. See, that's why we call it the point. It's the point of the mountain. And Draper wraps around, so it's actually one of the cities that is in Utah County and Salt Lake County. Here's the I-15, and then Utah County seems to start like right here. So they started to build on what is called the Traverse Mountain area, I want to say about 10 years ago, and it has just exploded, and that's where Lehigh is, and the outlets, and this is Thanksgiving Point, and here's Lehigh, and so Draper enfolds in those other areas as well. But it's really good for hiking. You're literally living like on the mountain, like Draper's on the mountain. A price point of Draper is becoming very expensive. You're getting $1 million homes over there. It used to be like a farmland culture, but a lot of the land has now been subdivided out and into bigger homes. You're not going to get a lot of land over there though. Literally, you're going to see multiple $1 million homes. I would say that Draper's the closest to $1 million homes versus somewhere like Alpine, and then the other $1 million homes are going to be up further north by past Salt Lake City. Okay, this person's saying between Roy and Bountiful. This is very, very true. Roy and Bountiful have some really good cities. Again, Bountiful is known for $1 million homes as well, and the viewpoints from the mountains. Someone would suggest Weber County. Okay, agreed. Avoid Utah County at all costs. That's mostly because I am unfamiliar with the area and not a fan of the culture of BYU and Provo culture activities. North of Salt Lake is a lot more chill. I would 100% agree with this comment, even though it's controversial. It just depends on the culture and the type of demographics you're looking for. You've got young students living in the Provo area. You've got a lot of BYU is owned by a religious organization, so you've got a lot of belief systems over there which create the ability for more culture shock, understanding a different religion that is very, very predominantly known in their lives. Mormonism is a lifestyle, it's not just a religion, and so when people go over there, they're kind of shocked by the lifestyle of Mormonism. Whereas Salt Lake City, you've got more of the demographics of different politics, different lifestyles, more acceptance of different people's different ways of living, which is why you get a lot more people pulled over there for Salt Lake City versus down here. It's a lot of similar to a lot of states where the main hub of the city has a very different demographic feel and political feel than the rest of the rural area. So the rural area can be more conservative, whereas the city's not so much. So you got a different political stance there and culture shock there. It says, can you expand on the culture and cultivated from entering for future residents in the area? Oh my gosh, I totally just botched that, but hopefully you read it. Most of my dislikes for the area come as someone who lives in North Salt Lake where it's less crowded. Lots of newer development from the area from what I've seen. Like I said, try to avoid Utah County mostly because of traffic, but I do get impressions from BYU that you get a lot of very devout Mormon tech bro ski heads that comparable to the yuppies. Again, take that with a grain of salt. I am biased and not particularly well versed in the area. Jazz, I like your comment. That's his opinion, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. Thanks for the insight. I have complaints about where I live too, though it has a lot of benefits. Someone saying Layton, Kaysville, Clearfield areas. Like this goes on and on and on. I love Reddit. I love that people can go on there and talk about their opinions and how they feel. We have few problems areas in our cities. West Valley, Kearns, Magna, Ogden, Rose Park come to mind. That's true, but not compared to Baltimore. You're going to be fine anywhere you move. We moved from Central Phoenix, gunshots all the time, ghetto bird flying in the neighborhood everywhere. Okay, again, Utah's really screams as a really good place with low crime and raising children. Let's jump over here and see. Okay, do you like living in Utah? A year ago, honest opinion. Let's see what the comments are. They've been here since I was a kid and also lived in LA. With my other parents, my perspectives go from a majority city to a smaller city, long and short of it. I like Utah and a ton of positive experiences here and think the good outweighs the bad. It's family first state, but I think you can find anything you need here for other stuff if you're willing to travel for it. However, the next few years are crucial because of the environment issues that could cause major problems in the future. We do have some, what he's reflecting on that is Salt Lake City in itself and the high salt density and the pollution in the area. We've got some things that we're working on as far as making sure that our air is safe. We've got some issues. You look into it and you're definitely going to see it. If you want to learn more about that, leave a comment below and I'll definitely expand on that one. Most people here just want to live a nice, healthy lifestyle, and family is very outdoorsy. Smoking is very low if you hate cigarettes, and generally the state is very healthy conscious and encourages outdoor activities. The state is also very young with a high population of 20 to 40-year-olds than most places. You're having a family and kids or thinking of having them in the next 5 to 10 years. You either have kids or you're thinking of having kids. I think this place is really good for that. If you're more into a fast-paced city life or even crazy nightlife, I'd say this place isn't quite the par of other cities. The nightlife is definitely not the vibe here. Now, if you want to be in Salt Lake City, definitely a vibe. Park City, outside, travel area, definitely light side. You want to go to St. George? It's more outdoorsy. It's like we want to have a fire and we want to have fun and we want to do what we want to do and, drink some beer and kick the can, whatever it might be. As far as the vibe of like dancing and craziness and taxis going down the street, you're not going to get that kind of energy here. In fact, it's very rare to see taxis outside of Salt Lake City. It's like, oh, there's a taxi? What's a taxi doing here? Our transit system is not the best. Definitely like the Ubers, and I don't know what's the other one called? Lyft, those kind of things. I don't even use them though because most people own cars. Definitely cleaner and more upkept than other cities. This is very true. Utah does a really good job at keeping their highways clean, keeping their roads clean, keeping sure the trash is taken care of. That's something I love about Utah. If you enjoy vices such as drugs or alcohol are a little harder to come by. Yeah, I'm not going to talk very much about that, but yes, if you're in the Salt Lake area, you're about 1.5 hours from Wendover. That's very true. A lot of people use the Wendover and the Vegas just for quick trip to get away to the nightlife. So it's something I love. I know that I'm like, if there's someone that is hosting a concert that I want to go see, like Celine Dion or a country star or a show, I can literally drive to St. George and be there in 5 hours, or I could fly there if I wanted to and be there just for a day trip. So I love that I have that option to just go to a nightlife city that's super close to me, in my opinion. The big elephant in the room here is religion. Mormonism does indeed influence the culture here. People will ask you if you're part of a church in some way, some small amount, if you judge you if you're not. That is very true. The Mormons are very friendly, but they can also be very judgmental. It also just depends on your viewpoint and how you feel about that. However, they say, generally I have found LDS folks are generally very nice and pleasant to be around. Ton of places are closed on Sunday due to this and can take getting used to. If you're going to have a conservative religious policy pushed here, whether you think that's good or bad, it's up to you. Generally speaking, anything outside of Summit and Salt Lake counties are bleeding red. Talking about politics, so just take that info in consideration. You're gonna get law grandpappies would approve of, and you're gonna get people bent out of shape when they change the state flag. It's just how it is, and I think every state has that. Everybody's gonna have a state with someone with strong opinions. Generally, social change moves slower than other places. That is very true. Social changes, we used to say we're 10 years behind the fashion, or we're 10 years behind, meeting up with the trends. I keep up with the trends with my kid. I don't know about you guys. My kids are what keep me in the trends because I don't flow with the trends, but it just depends on what you're interested in. Salt Lake County and Summit County are both fairly progressive. This is a really good comment. You'll see less religious aspects as well in Summit County and Salt Lake County. Is very true. Their biggest concern all is environmental, the air quality, and I would agree with this one. Can be bad due to it being a very large valley surrounded by mountains. We get a lot of the air being pushed from Vegas and from California, okay? So we get that pollution in our air and it gets blocked because of the mountain range. It's not able to clear. So right now we have a little bit of an air issue because we're in winter, and winter is usually when it happens, when you've got that cold air pushing down. But they are trying to work on it. So they're saying, especially in the peak of summer months for wildfires, very normal, we get wildfires. And then the peak of winter due to high car usage and generally more energy pollution, which is what I just mentioned. It doesn't happen all year, but when it does suck. And they will tell you, please don't drive today. We don't want to increase the air pollution. And if you're someone who has some lung issues, take that into consideration as well. We are at a higher elevation. And so when I go to a lower elevation and I run, I'm like, oh my gosh, this feels amazing because my lungs are used to a higher elevation with drier air. The water is also an issue. So they always say that we're in a drought. The state will always say that we're in a drought, but we actually sell our water. So we actually do get a lot of water, but because we sell our water to other states, they always consider us a drought. So a lot of times in the summer, they'll say only water your lawn twice a week. It's not a mandated, not a law, but they're recommending that you do that in order to conserve the water, and it becomes a big deal. And like I said, it's all perspective based. I believe the state can and will change on its ways in environmental stuff, and we're going to do what we can to keep this place great. Lots of great people here, and definitely consider it home. It's a very well thought out post. I agree with that. It was a good one. Okay, I really like this comment right here. It says, on a specific note, my allergies are 10 times worse because you're getting all 4 seasons. You're getting the fall and the spring, particularly for allergies. You are going to get the pollinator allergies that come through, plus the pollution, plus the air quality, plus it's dry. It does cause for a bigger issue for allergies, so keep that in mind. They really appreciate Utah's infrastructures and cities. Yes, infrastructure is a huge thing in Utah because it was settled by the Mormon pioneers. Salt Lake has a very rigid demographic in the way the streets are laid out. Provo adopted that same style, and there's a lot of other different cities that have a grid system where it's all within a block and square. So it's actually very easy to find your way around the cities due to the grid system and knowing what streets are on what. A lot is like 123rd, 124th, 125th, 127th. So it's all within a row. So you know, okay, I'm like 3-4 blocks away from this area, or I need to go up this way, north, south, east, west. It's very, very well thought out. And so people really love the infrastructure when it comes to that. Could not agree more coming from Chicago. So let's see. I've been here for 10 years. Absolutely love it. If you're into outdoor sports and nature, you'll never be bored. You'll never be bored. I have still not visited all the camping sites just in Utah alone. I have still not hiked all the trails that could be hiked around here. I still have not hiked all the peaks of the mountains. I lived by a mountain for 20 years. It was about 10 minutes away from it, from the Timpanogos Peak, and I still haven't hiked it. You have the BYU hike that's very, very famous. You go up north and there's tons of different lakes and things to do. Lakes and fishing and fly fishing and biking and hiking. Like, if that's you, you belong in Utah. Let's just be honest. They moved from Ogden from Japan, okay? And they also lived in Ohio. They really like it here. There is so much to do, and they found people to be very friendly and helpful. They hate the weather. They can't stand the heat over 85, okay? They get anxious about the inversion in winter. That's very fair. It does get very hot. The heat is very, very dry heat. But Salt Lake has a pretty good culture, and the rest of the state is pretty good food. I find that very interesting. I feel like, because I'm a foodie. I went to culinary arts. I feel like Utah County, Salt Lake has got some really good ones. I wish Utah County had more like the hole in the walls where it's like I could really try some diversity. But we've still got the Asian and the sushi and the Peruvian and the Mexican, and we've got the taco carts. I've got a taco cart 10 minutes away from me. A lot of people like to build franchises, so we attract a lot of the franchises. You got the Applebee's and the Chili's and the Olive Garden. We love our franchise stores. I will tell you that. There's not a lot of mom and pop stores here. Not a lot of pop-up stores of family-owned businesses, but we definitely love like our Costco and our Target and our Walmart, but not a lot of mom and pop because our infrastructure just doesn't support it as well, because we don't have a lot of like cute little main streets. Now there are cute main streets, but those businesses don't do as well just because people get used to going to Walmart. That's just the life of Utah. Skiing, hiking, don't have to deal with nearly as much snow in the valley. That's true. No children and running around the bars and the breweries is pretty cool. Farmers markets. I wish we had better farmers markets. The cold tolerance tolerance makes it harder to get the farmers markets going annually. And we have our winter, 6+ months out of the year. We have a good about 5 months of that time to do farmers markets. But because we're not close to the ocean, or we have the high density of fruit options here, most of your things are going to be like vegetable based or like craft based or handmade things at the markets. I'm someone who I just love Washington's markets. And so I'm like, I just wish that's what we had. And California has great markets, but we're getting better. Within the last 5 years, Utah's really becoming more mom and pop, small company supportive. And every weekend you could find a farmer's market now. In fact, there's a Christmas farmer's market that I'm going to be attending this weekend. Anyway, guys, this was so fun. Let me know if you want to make another video like this. Here's Cora. It's a great place to live. Moved from California. Talks about religion. You're starting to see a trend with all these videos, you guys. I love doing this one. Let me know if you want to talk more about your situation and see if I think that you would fit here. Just give me my personal opinion on your demographics and what works for you. And click the Calendly link below and let's get in touch, you guys, and schedule a time to meet with me. Until then, I'll see you in my next video.